Most people think anxiety means something is wrong with them. But the truth? Anxiety is your mind trying to protect you, just in the worst possible way. It's a survival mechanism stuck on high alert. Your brain is saying, I've seen pain before, I've felt chaos, and I'm not letting that happen again. That constant tightness in your chest, that rapid heartbeat, that fear that comes out of nowhere, it's not weakness. It's your system trying to keep you safe. But here's the problem. Your mind is fighting battles that don't exist anymore. Step 1, anxiety is not weakness. It's a signal. Anxiety is not a flaw in your personality or a sign that you're falling apart. It is a message, a reaction, a signal from a part of you that has been trying to keep you safe long before you were even aware of it. Most people treat anxiety as if it's a personal failure, something to hide or fight against, but anxiety is simply your internal alarm system doing its job. It activates when your mind senses uncertainty, danger, emotional risk, or even the memory of a past experience that once hurt you. Your heart races, your chest tightens, and your thoughts spiral not because you're weak, but because your body believes you need protection. It's trying to warn you, to prepare you, to keep you out of harm's way, even when there is no actual threat in front of you. What most people don't realize is that anxiety often comes from old wounds that were never acknowledged. The times you felt abandoned, the moments you felt judged, the situations where you didn't feel safe speaking up, the experiences where life blindsided you without warning. Your nervous system remembers those shocks long after your mind forgets them. So today, when you face something even slightly similar, your body reacts as if the same danger is happening again. That tightness you feel, that sudden panic, that discomfort in your own skin, it is your history speaking. Your body is saying, last time this happened, you got hurt. Be careful. Anxiety is not irrational. It is deeply connected to your story, your emotions, and your past experiences. When anxiety shows up, it's not trying to sabotage you. It's trying to communicate. It's telling you that something inside you needs attention, understanding, or healing. It may be signaling that you've been ignoring your needs for too long, forcing yourself into situations that drain you, or trying to meet expectations that were never meant for you. Sometimes anxiety rises because you're growing, stepping into unfamiliar territory, or doing something that challenges an old identity you're still clinging to. Even positive change can trigger anxiety because your mind prioritizes familiarity over happiness. It fears the unknown, even when the unknown holds something better than the life you're trying to leave behind. Anxiety becomes overwhelming when we don't listen to it. When we silence it, avoid it, or carry shame around it, the signal gets louder, more intense, more disruptive. But when you understand it, when you see it not as an enemy, but as a messenger, everything changes. Anxiety is your system's way of asking for safety, clarity, or reassurance. And when you start responding to it with awareness instead of judgment, you realize it was never a sign of weakness at all. Step 2. Overthinking comes from fear of the unknown. Overthinking doesn't come from intelligence or deep reflection the way people often assume. It comes from a fear that you might walk into something you can't handle. It comes from the part of you that has been blindsided before. The part that remembers what it felt like to be unprepared, embarrassed, hurt, or disappointed. When your mind doesn't know what's ahead, it tries to create every possible scenario, not because you want to, but because you're terrified of repeating a past you never healed from. So you analyze every detail, replay every conversation, imagine every outcome, and exhaust yourself trying to predict something you cannot control. Overthinking becomes a shield, a way to prepare for pain before it even arrives, because deep down you believe that if you figure everything out in advance, maybe you can avoid getting hurt again. This fear of the unknown often builds slowly, shaped by experiences where uncertainty led to something painful. Maybe you trusted someone and they broke that trust. Maybe you took a risk and it didn't work out. Maybe life changed suddenly in a way that left you shocked, vulnerable, or alone. When your nervous system holds on to those memories, uncertainty stops feeling like a neutral space and starts feeling like danger. Your brain becomes hyperactive, constantly scanning for threats, constantly trying to make sense of things that haven't even happened. Overthinking becomes your mind's way of staying in control, of avoiding emotional chaos, of making sure you're never caught off guard again. It feels like your thoughts are protecting you, but in reality, they're trapping you in a loop of fear, confusion, and self-doubt. What makes overthinking so exhausting is that it creates problems that don't exist yet. Your mind doesn't stop at one possibility. It builds dozens of them. It takes a simple situation and magnifies it until it feels overwhelming. You analyze a message before sending it, then analyze it again after sending it. You doubt your decisions even after you make them. You question what people meant, what they didn't say, what they might be thinking, what they could be hiding. Instead of living in the moment, you live in the what ifs and maybes and what could go wrong. This constant mental noise isn't because you're indecisive or dramatic. It comes from a deep fear that something bad might happen if you don't think everything through perfectly. Overthinking is your mind's attempt to create certainty in a world that can never be fully predicted. It is the mind's way of trying to give you safety when the future feels unclear, unfamiliar, or risky. It is fear trying to disguise itself as preparation, control, or responsibility. And when the unknown feels threatening, thinking becomes a reflex, something you do automatically, not because you want to, but because your brain believes it's the only way to protect you. Step 3. Self-doubt is learned, not natural. Self-doubt is not something you were born with. It is something the world taught you. When you came into this life, you didn't question your worth, your abilities, or your right to take up space. You didn't wonder if you were good enough, smart enough, or deserving enough. You simply existed with confidence, curiosity, and instinct. But somewhere along the way, someone's words, actions, or silence planted a seed of doubt in you. A parent who compared you to others, a teacher who dismissed your efforts, a friend who betrayed your trust, a moment where you needed reassurance and received criticism instead. All of it slowly shaped the way you see yourself. Self-doubt comes from experiences where you weren't protected, supported, or believed in. And those moments trained your mind to question itself even long after the situation ended. It's important to understand that self-doubt is not a personal flaw, it's a conditioned response. If you were constantly told to be careful, to not get your hopes up, to play small, or to avoid risks, your brain learned that confidence was dangerous. It learned that standing out could lead to judgment, that failing could lead to humiliation, and that wanting something too much could lead to disappointment. So now, even as an adult, your mind tries to protect you by holding you back. It tells you to stay quiet, stay safe, stay hidden. It whispers that you're not ready, not capable, not worthy, not enough. These thoughts aren't reflections of your true potential. They are echoes of messages you absorbed at times when you were too young or too vulnerable to reject them. Self-doubt becomes especially powerful when those early experiences go unchallenged. If no one ever told you that your voice mattered, you grew up believing it didn't. If people dismissed your feelings, you learned to dismiss yourself. If you weren't encouraged to dream big, every dream now feels too heavy to carry. The brain repeats familiar patterns even when those patterns limit you. And because self-doubt often sounds like your own voice, it feels true, even though it began as someone else's opinion, someone else's fear, someone else's insecurity projected onto you. It was learned through moments where you internalize blame, criticism, or lack of validation, and over time, those lessons became beliefs you now mistake for your identity. The most painful part is that self-doubt hides beneath everyday life so quietly that you don't always notice how much it shapes your choices. It affects the risks you take, the relationships you pursue, the opportunities you ignore, and the way you talk to yourself when no one else is around. It tells you to lower your expectations, to prepare for disappointment, to assume you're unqualified before you even try. But all of this comes from conditioning, not truth. You learned self-doubt the same way you learn language, habits, or fears, through repeated experiences and unchallenged beliefs. And because it was learned, it can be unlearned. Step 4. Your body remembers what your mind tries to forget. Your body carries the weight of experiences you no longer consciously think about. Even when your mind pushes memories away, tries to move on, or convinces itself that it wasn't a big deal, your nervous system stores every intense emotion you've ever felt. Moments of fear, rejection, loneliness, betrayal, embarrassment, or shock don't just fade when time passes. They settle in your muscles, your breathing patterns, your reactions, and the way you respond to people and situations without fully knowing why. You may not remember the details, but your body remembers the fear. You may not think about the moment someone hurt you, but your body still tenses when you sense something similar. The mind can forget through distraction, denial, or avoidance, but the body keeps the score and communicates through sensations, anxiety, tension, and instinct. This is why certain environments feel uncomfortable even when nothing bad is happening. It's why a tone of voice can make your stomach drop, why a sudden change can send your heart racing, why certain people drain your energy even if they haven't done anything wrong. Your body is scanning for cues, connecting the present with the past long before your mind has time to reason through it. It reacts to similarities, small ones, subtle ones, unconscious ones, based on old emotional imprints. Something as simple as someone raising their voice, taking too long to reply, walking away during a conversation, or giving you a certain expression can activate physical feelings that don't match the situation. This isn't overreacting. It's your body trying to protect you from reliving an old pain, even if the current moment is harmless. Trauma doesn't always show up as memories. Sometimes it shows up as reactions you can't explain. That sudden heat in your chest, the knot in your throat, the tightness in your jaw, the urge to run, the urge to shut down. All of these are survival responses formed at times when you didn't feel safe. When the mind couldn't handle the moment, the body stepped in. It learned how to brace, how to freeze, how to hide, how to defend you. And now it continues those patterns automatically, even when you wish it wouldn't. You might think you've moved on, but your body responds as if the danger is still there, because no one ever taught it that the story has changed. Many people blame themselves for these physical reactions, thinking they're being dramatic or sensitive, when in reality, their body is simply remembering something their mind has learned to silence. Your body communicates in sensations instead of words. It warns you through discomfort, tension, or sudden emotional shifts. It becomes protective in moments where your mind sees nothing wrong, and this mismatch creates confusion. You feel something intense without a clear reason, and you question yourself instead of recognizing that this is an old wound speaking. Your body remembers experiences you never fully processed, and it reacts in ways that don't always make logical sense, but make perfect emotional sense to the part of you that once needed protection. Step 5. You don't need more confidence. You need clarity. People often believe that the reason they feel stuck, hesitant, or afraid to move forward is because they lack confidence. They think confidence is the missing ingredient, the magic switch that will suddenly make everything easier. But the truth is, most people don't have a confidence problem. They have a clarity problem. Confidence isn't something you wait for. It's something that grows naturally when you know what you want, why you want it, and what direction you're moving in. When your vision is blurry, every decision feels heavy. When your path is uncertain, even small steps feel risky. You second-guess your choices, question your abilities, and assume you're not ready, but none of this comes from a lack of confidence. It comes from not being clear about your destination, your purpose, or your priorities. Clarity is what gives your mind a sense of direction, and without it, everything feels confusing, overwhelming, and unstable. Clarity removes the mental noise that makes you doubt yourself. When you know what you truly want, you stop chasing everyone else's expectations. You stop getting pulled in 100 different directions. You stop comparing your journey to someone else's progress. You stop wasting your energy on things that don't align with who you are. When you're unclear, you overthink every possibility because you're not sure which outcome matters most to you. You question whether you're doing enough, being enough, or becoming enough because you don't have a reference point for your own success. But when your priorities are defined, your decisions become simpler. You don't need to feel confident to move. You just need to know where you're going. Even uncertainty becomes easier to handle when you understand your deeper intention behind each step. Confidence grows as a byproduct of taking action, but action only becomes consistent when clarity exists. People assume they need confidence first, but confidence is built by doing, trying, failing, learning, and adjusting. If you spend your life waiting to feel confident before you take action, you'll stay stuck because confidence doesn't come before clarity, and it doesn't come before movement. Most people aren't suffering from self-doubt because they lack ability. They suffer because they lack understanding of what they truly value, what they fear losing, and what direction aligns with their inner truth. When clarity is missing, your mind fills the empty space with fear, doubt, and hesitation. But when clarity is present, your steps become grounded, your choices become intentional, and your voice becomes stronger, not because you became more confident, but because you finally knew what you were moving toward. Step 6. The way out is through awareness and action. Most people think that escaping anxiety, overthinking, or self-doubt means avoiding uncomfortable feelings, suppressing them, or waiting for some external change to fix them. But the truth is the opposite. The only way out is through. Avoidance only strengthens fear, and ignoring the patterns that control your mind ensures they will repeat. Awareness is the first step because you cannot change what you do not see. You must recognize the thoughts, feelings, and physical sensations that arise in moments of stress or doubt. Notice them without judgment. Observe the impulses to overthink, the tension in your body, the whisper of self-criticism. Awareness doesn't mean analyzing endlessly or trying to fix yourself instantly. It means sitting with your experience and understanding the signals your mind and body are sending. Every uncomfortable thought, every surge of fear, every pang of self-doubt is a message that points to something you haven't addressed, a part of your life or mind that is waiting to be acknowledged. Once awareness exists, action becomes possible. Action doesn't mean giant leaps or perfection. It means taking deliberate, conscious steps toward clarity and growth, even when fear is present. Small steps are enough to start rewiring the patterns that have controlled you. Speaking up in a conversation you would normally avoid, setting boundaries with someone who drains your energy, taking on a task you've been putting off, or simply observing a thought and letting it pass without judgment. All of these are actions. Each step trains your mind to trust that you can handle discomfort, that you can face the unknown, and that your worth is not tied to perfection. Action teaches your nervous system that the danger it imagined is no longer real, and that repeated exposure to uncertainty and challenge builds resilience over time. Awareness and action work together like a feedback loop. Awareness shows you what is happening in the present moment, while action rewires your responses to those experiences. The more you practice this, the less control fear and self-doubt have over your life. You begin to see that the thoughts racing through your mind are not commands, but signals. You realize that your body's tension is not a weakness, but information about what needs attention. By observing and responding, you start to reclaim power over your mind instead of letting your mind dictate your reality. Transformation doesn't happen overnight, and it doesn't come from avoiding discomfort. It comes from deliberately noticing your patterns and taking consistent steps forward, proving to yourself through action that you are capable of navigating life even when it feels uncertain, uncomfortable, or overwhelming. You are not your anxiety, your overthinking, or your self-doubt. These are signals, not your identity. Face them with awareness, take deliberate action, and step by step, you reclaim control over your life. The strength to overcome has always been inside you, waiting for you to notice.